Hello, everybody. This is Nick Morgeson here with the Empty the Bench podcast network with another breaking news event that we're going to bring you right now as we wait for people to join. We've had a bunch of NBA news break as we have this news to break with you. Bam! Shams Charania on it again. The Miami Heat are finalizing a deal to send Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors for Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, and a protected first-round pick. Now, we were talking about this the past couple of nights, and we had determined originally that the original Brian Windhorst report that came out was that Jimmy Butler refused to sign a contract extension with the Golden State Warriors. Now, what happened all of a sudden between yesterday when the initial report came out and the report that's coming in now from Shams Charania? And there's news coming in as we speak, so I will be sharing news as we go along as we're doing this. So the original report came in. The Miami Heat are finalizing a deal that said Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors for Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, and protect the first-round pick. Okay, so that's part one of this deal. Okay. So now let's talk about the other parts. So Shams has also come out and said that the Warriors and Jimmy Butler have agreed to a new 2-year deal, a new 2-year, $121 million extension with the franchise through the 2026-27 season. And Butler is going to decline his 25-26 player option for this new $121 million deal. So Jimmy Butler gets his contract that he wants, even though Jimmy Butler is probably one of the more overrated NBA stars right now across the NBA. This guy is a head case and a headache. Why would you want to deal with his ego? Why would you want to deal with his just annoying attitude and the franchise? This guy's not a leader. I've said this for the last couple of days. This guy cannot lead a team. Look at his track record. He was in Chicago. That really didn't work out too well. Okay. Then he goes to Philadelphia. That didn't work out too well. Or actually, excuse me. He went to Minnesota. That didn't work out. Then he goes to Philadelphia. That didn't work out. Okay. And then he goes to Miami. Everyone thinks that's a better destination. He gets the team deep into the playoffs. They just don't win. But this guy is like a cat with 9 lives. I just don't understand. First comment going to Grant and Jack. Grant, I know you're listening out there. Butler with Curry is going to be good, I think. Well, again, I guess because Curry is not as ball dominant of a guard, so maybe that works in the favor of Jimmy Butler, but Steph Curry likes to shoot also. So I'm curious to see where this goes. And now I'm getting reports from Shams that there was a third team in the mix. It was the Detroit Pistons. As part of the deal, Warriors Lindy Waters III and Heat's Josh Richardson are heading to the Detroit Pistons. So reports are coming in hot and heavy as we break this news to everybody as we speak here on the ETB Network YouTube channel and across a bunch of other YouTube, Twitter pages that we are live on right now. More info on the extension that Jimmy Butler got. According to Shams, the 2-month-long saga between Jimmy Butler and the Heat ends in a trade to Golden State, one of his 4 initial preferred destinations, and a new extension. But again, there's something not adding up here, which is the Brian Windhorst report that came out during the live stream that we did last night. Why all of a sudden is he accepting an extension to go to Golden State when last night the report was that he refused to sign a contract extension, and that ended all the trade talks going to Golden State. That doesn't make sense. Somebody in this chat, explain to me how this makes any sense. Because you know what, everybody? It doesn't make sense. Was Jimmy Butler so desperate to get out of Miami, which we knew he was desperate, but was he so desperate that he basically just gave in and said, all right, I'll go to Golden State. No biggie here. And I'll just accept the deal one way or the other. No skin off my nose. But if I'm the rest of the NBA, like, I don't want Jimmy Butler on my team. He's a cancer in the locker room. A huge cancer in the locker room. This guy only cares about himself. I mean, you could say that about most athletes, that their egos are bigger, more on themselves than they are on team. And that's why you don't see a lot of single stars winning in this scenario. But again, this one's not as shocking as the rest of the others that happened the last couple of days. And you'll see this on a Substack exclusive we did for the ETB network. Myself and Anthony Ballister are on a new short video series called Alley-Oop Analytics. We actually discussed, is Jimmy Butler alienating the whole NBA, and is the drama really worth trading for? Well, apparently to the Golden State Warriors, they were desperate enough and willing to take on Jimmy Butler. Now, is this going to work? I don't have an answer. It's too soon to really be saying what's happening. All right, more news from Shams Charania, ESPN NBA insider. Dennis Schroeder is heading to Utah and Kyle Anderson to Toronto as part of this multi-team trade. So far, we've had the Heat, the Warriors, the Pistons, the Jazz, and the Raptors. 5 teams. 5 teams to get Jimmy Butler to Golden State. Okay? And another player heading to Miami in this deal via Utah is PJ Tucker. So that means Tucker and the Heat are reuniting in Miami. I just don't understand why the Warriors chose Jimmy Butler when there probably was other options. That's what I don't understand. Okay? And I'm seeing more reports. Dennis Schroeder won't be staying in Miami as part of the Golden State Warriors trade. Utah Jazz are playing facilitator once again. So this just shows you how desperate Golden State really is to try to compete for another title. And this officially closes any bookend scenario that the Warriors were out trying to get Kevin Durant. That was probably the most ridiculous rumor that I heard so far today. Oh, well, the Warriors are desperately trying to get Kevin Durant back. Well, the reports are Kevin Durant never wanted to come back to Golden State. So I don't think that was ever even a possibility, even if the trade was easy, which it was not going to be. But the Warriors were calling around the NBA desperately, trying to convince a star to come play with Steph Curry, to give him one more chance at winning another title. They struck out big time. They tried to get KD, didn't work. Tried to see if LeBron was interested, didn't work. Tried to get Paul George, didn't work. So you really had to reach into the bag of tricks, and you reached into the bag of tricks for Jimmy Butler? And people are going to say, but Nick, you don't play the NBA or high-level basketball while you're judging Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's a head case. That's why nobody likes Jimmy Butler. I dare somebody in the comments and people who's watching right now to tell me that Jimmy Butler's not a head case. He's garbage, in my opinion. Jimmy Butler is not worth the money that he's being paid. And on top of that, he gets a 2-year, $121 million extension, meaning he's going to make a little over $60 million a year. Are you kidding me? Be lucky if this guy shows up. I mean, heck, look what happened with Miami. When he was told he was going to sit on the bench, he basically said, sayonara, I'm out of here. I'm not staying for this. Look at how many times Miami had to suspend Jimmy Butler. Like, seriously? That's the scenario, excuse me, that the Warriors want to deal with here? You can't tell me that that the Warriors, this was their first option. There was no way. There was no way this is their first option. And then to give $60 million a year. I mean, whoa. Like, according to Zach Lowe, who is one of the better insiders across the NBA media, the Heat are receiving Golden State's 2025 first-round pick, protected for selections 1 through 10 as part of the Butler trade. If pick does not convey this year, same protection to 2026. So the Warriors give up a lot of value and a lot of draft capital to bring Jimmy Butler to Golden State. You better get this correct if you're Golden State, that Jimmy Butler wants to play there. Unless they were the only team that was willing to offer the extension. Now, what's interesting in this whole scenario is the Phoenix Suns. What about the Phoenix Suns, who said, you know what, we want Jimmy Butler to go along with Devin Booker and KD? That never articulated into anything. And I wonder if they're kicking themselves because they didn't move quick enough to make a Jimmy Butler deal. So there's a lot of questions to be answered. Will Jimmy Butler succeed in Golden State? I have no idea. Okay. Is it the right deal for Golden State that they gave up a protected first round pick and they gave up quite a few guys? They gave up Andrew Wiggins, who I happen to like. Andrew Wiggins, I think he's a really good player. They gave up Schroeder, who they got in a trade earlier this year. So not too worried about that one. Kyle Anderson, not much. So it's really a trade for Andrew Wiggins and a first round pick, because the other stuff is not as tangible, to be honest. But they wanted Kevin Durant. They wanted LeBron James. They wanted Paul George. The Warriors are so freaking desperate right now, they were willing to jeopardize their reputation to bring Kevin Durant back. Bring him back after the way he left. So, everyone who's in the chat, please tell me your thoughts about this trade, because I didn't expect, after the reports yesterday, like I said, that Jimmy Butler was not going to get anywhere near San Francisco to play for Golden State. No chance. And I'm trying to, now we've seen 3 of the biggest trades go down before tomorrow's February 6th NBA trade deadline. Okay. And I don't know what's left. I don't know if Golden State's going to make another trade. If they decide to make another trade. And are they going to be competitors and be competitive in the Western Conference to at least make a playoff run? I don't think they're good enough to win the title, but maybe they're more aggressive and maybe they work themselves out of the playoff tournament and into the actual seating so they don't have to play the extra games. But wow. Just wow. When I saw this trade break, and I'm just trying to look again at reactions to see what people are really saying about this Jimmy Butler deal. I mean, it's not as big a reaction as, let's say, the Luka deal or stuff like that. But wow. Like, it's all over social media now, so the news is public, and you're seeing pictures all over the place. And it's weird that they're putting Steph Curry, Draymond Green, and Jimmy Butler in a picture of the big three. That's not a big three. Let's stop with the bullshit and stop saying that this is a big three. It's not a big three. The original big three was Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and Klay Thompson. Okay? You're never going to get a big three like that ever again. And to be honest, KD should have desperately gone back to Golden State. I think his reputation would have cleared up a little, even though everyone would have said he left OKC to basically, if you can't beat them, join them scenario. And there's not much else that's going to happen. I don't think KD's going to get moved now, if you really want my opinion on this. And I think KD's stuck in Phoenix, because I really feel like that was the one variable trade scenario that would have made sense for Kevin Durant to go to Golden State. Why not? KD, what do you have to lose going to Golden State? Oh, you could win one more title with Steph Curry? I think unless you're just happy with the fact you might not never win a title again. I mean, that was my scenario all along, that KD basically let his ego take over playing in a team format. So in his mind, well, screw you guys. I don't need you to win a title. Well, guess what? You went to the Nets. You failed. You're in Phoenix currently. You're failing. Just go back to Golden State, even though that's probably not going to happen anymore. He should have just gone back to Golden State and said, Steph, I'm here to play. These were my best years. We won a few titles. Let's get back to it. And let's try and win for San Francisco, for the Golden State Warrior fans. But no, Kevin Durant's ego was just too far-fetched, and he would rather Twitter troll fans that say bad things about him rather than say, you know what, I'm going to let my basketball playing do the talking instead of my Twitter trolling do the talking. Same thing with Jimmy Butler. That Jimmy Butler should let his basketball do the talking and not his large ego and the outfits and the weird hair that he goes out in and the clubbing and walking out of the arena when he was told he was going to be on the bench. I mean, this will be interesting because Jimmy Butler will slot in as a number two, obviously behind Steph Curry. But Jimmy Butler's not going to give his all 100% when he's out on the court all the time. He just won't. It's just not a reality. You don't get a LeBron James, as much as I hate LeBron James. You don't get a LeBron James that puts his all on the court. Again, who's a physical specimen. Really spending $1 million a year to keep his body in shape. Now, when I look at Jimmy Butler, he's like a 50%, 60% effort guy. And then if he's having a good game, he'll keep his energy level up. If he's not having a good game, he slumps around and doesn't care. So, this is a failure trade for me. All right. And usually I don't give grades for trades this quick. But Jimmy Butler is not going to be a patient player. fitting into the Golden State Warriors system with Steve Kerr. It's just not going to happen. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you think this trade is good, bad, indifferent. If you think Jimmy Butler would have fit somewhere else across NBA circles. Do you think there was even any other trade options at this point? And according to Om Yomisick, who actually is a ESPN NBA reporter, said that this was about a half an hour ago. Steve Kerr just walked out of the locker room with his head down. Well, if that doesn't give you the reaction, or that doesn't tell you what Steve Kerr's reaction is to this whole situation, then I don't know what does. Steve Kerr knows that Jimmy Butler's not going to fit in this scenario. He's just not. He's not a system guy. Jimmy Butler will just run around with the basketball, take some shots here and there, nonchalant. Unless playing with Steph Curry is like a remotivator for Jimmy Butler to maybe find a home. But what happens if Golden State goes into the tank and just completely falls off? And basically he says, F you guys, I want out of here after I signed a 2-year extension, but I'm not. I demand a trade. How many more times can this guy demand a trade, too? He's been on 5 or 6 teams. If you alienate enough of the NBA, you're just gonna get blackballed, and you're just not gonna be able to play anywhere at all. I personally not a fan at all. If Jimmy Butler retired tomorrow, I wouldn't miss him if he walked out of here. The juice is not worth the squeeze, as they say in professional sport. So, again, if you're just joining, per Shams Charania and Miami Heat are finalizing a deal to send Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors for Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, a protected first-round pick. Some other teams involved, Utah, Toronto, and some others. So there's 5 or 6 teams involved total in this deal to get Jimmy Butler from Miami to Golden State. And we're not going to really feel the effects of this deal until right around playoffs. And if they make the playoffs, will they make a run with Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green? So I'm not 100% sure. But think about all these moves also that took place. Okay? And think about the amount of star power trading places. Luka going to LA, Anthony Davis going to Dallas, De'Aaron Fox going to San Antonio, Zach LaVine going to Sacramento. Yeah, the Chris Middleton trade, which, again, that one kind of confused me also. So you have quite a few big names moving around. And it's going to be interesting to see how all these deals play out. And who's going to be the one that comes out on top. And I'm just trying to effort here it is. So the Milwaukee Bucks are trading Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, and a pick swap to the Washington Wizards for Kyle Kuzma, Patrick Baldwin Jr., and a second-round draft compensation. So look at these deals. A lot of big brand name type NBA players trading destinations. And by the way, I feel really bad for Chris Middleton right now because he went from being on a Milwaukee team, which is competitive almost every year, to a Washington Wizards team, which is a complete dumpster fire by any means. So you look at these two deals over the last day, and you see them making moves. And it also tells you that the Bucks would rather have Kyle Kuzma than Chris Middleton, that was confusing to me. But when I say Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors, of the three big trades that happened in the last 3 days, this one is the least shocking of all three of the trades that went down that had big names going and trading places. Jimmy Butler was going to get traded at one point, unless Pat Riley was just going to stupidly play hardball and basically refuse him to go on a playoff run with another team. I think that's what we're trying to avoid. So just realize that this trade is going to be interesting and a reflection on the Golden State Warriors for desperation, like I said earlier. So we'll see what happens with this trade. We'll see what happens if Jimmy Butler helps Steph Curry to make this a better offensive juggernaut of a team. So right now the jury's out on whether this comes to fruition and really turns them into a contender. I mean, or I shouldn't say not necessarily a contender. This makes them more of a contender for the playoffs. But I don't know if this makes them next level where they could compete for the title. I just don't see that. There are better teams than them. OKC is better than them. I think Milwaukee is better than them. So we'll just have to wait and see how this plays out. So in the end, again, the breaking news from Shams Charania and Miami Heat finalize a deal to send Jimmy Butler to the Golden State Warriors for Andrew Wiggins, Dennis Schroeder, Kyle Anderson, and a protected first-round pick. Make sure you tune into Alley-Oop Analytics tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, a Substack exclusive for the ETB Network. etbnetwork.substack.com. Actually, let me pull that up. ETB Substack. etbnetwork.substack.com. Check it out. Please subscribe. It's $5 a month just to get, I should say just but to get a ton of bonus content that we have, that we're working for here at the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. And one of the ones we just finished working on is the first video of a series called Alley-Oop Analytics with myself and Anthony Ballister talking all NBA trends. We went a little more extended on the Luka trade and the De'Aaron Fox trade, and we talked a little more about Jimmy Butler. So go check that out. etbnetwork.substack.com. Please subscribe. It helps us to grow. It's $5 a month. We're not asking for a lot of money. And we have MLB exclusive content on there. We have NFL exclusive content on there. We have college sports exclusive content on there. There's a ton of content coming to our ETB Network Substack. So please go subscribe, etbnetwork.substack.com. And it's $5 a month. It doesn't cost a lot. And it helps us to grow and expand what we're offering in our catalog. So I'm Nick Morganson, co-host of Empty the Bench, the flagship show on the network, and head of content. We will see you next time for more breaking news on the NBA trade deadline. The plan is to do an NBA trade deadline post-game reaction show after the deadline passes. So make sure you tune into that as well. And we will see you guys next time.